Hello, everyone, and welcome to Abnormal Investigations. It's good to see a lot of you here tonight. To see a lot of familiar faces again in the chat. Tim Wrestler, good to see you. Thank you for that, and God bless you for that donation. Man, what do y'all think about today? It has been a hot day here in Oklahoma. I don't know what it's like where you guys are at, but I am sure ready for some fall weather. Looks like we have Chester Robinson in chat tonight. Good to see you. Amanda's Crazy Life. Always good to see Amanda. Hope you're doing well tonight. We always try to start with a little bit of a roll call. And of course, we got Tim Wrestler in here, which just made a donation, which we appreciate very much. We got Pink Pixie moderating tonight. Thank you for being here. Lisa, thank you for being here. Nancy McDonald, God, Guns, and Ammo. Chester Robinson, good to see you. I will try not to miss anybody as I do this. I'm working on a thing. Hopefully I can get Kaylee on to start watching the chat for me when we do these shows, and she can throw up the questions in which we'll leave my eyes a little bit free to be able to do other things. There's Kaylee, made it tonight. Tyler 420's in the house tonight. Carolyn Rivera's in the house tonight. Good to see you, Carolyn. Guys, we have a show for y'all tonight. I think you're going to enjoy a lot. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. And it looks like we've got everybody so far that has chatted tonight. So good to see everybody. We had Randy backstage. Randy disappeared, so I'm wondering if he's having a little bit of difficulties. Looks like he might be coming back up. Kat, good to see you. Glad you was able to make it. T-Bone, good to see you. Glad you was able to make it also. I don't like the heat at all. I do not like the heat. I will take fall any day. I've been working on Wide Open Adventures quite a bit, trying to get a lot of content over there. We dropped another video for Wide Open Adventures today, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It was really fun. Done another one tomorrow down on the lake, and should release it the next day, so that should be a really good one. I'm going to get Kaylee down there in the woods, see what happens. Looks like that's pretty much all the people that's chatting right now. I am going to go ahead, if Randy's ready to come on and gives me a thumbs up, we'll bring Randy in. I always make sure that everybody is ready. And looks like he may possibly be frozen again, so he may be having a little bit of trouble right now. There he is. I think he's back. Whenever you're ready, Randy, just give me a thumbs up. All right, he says he's ready, so let's see if we can get Randy on tonight, guys. What's happening? Uh-oh. Looks like he's having some of what I have to deal with tonight, which is never no fun. Miss Dion, Whisper Walkers, good to see you. Welcome to the show. Let me throw you up there. We appreciate having you in here tonight with us. For those of you who do not know, I now have a Discord that you can go and join and keep up on the chat. And you can also share your photos over there also if you're interested in the Discord. Quite a few people's joined it, and it looks like they've been chatting in there quite a bit. Hopefully Randy will get his situation under control. I'm wondering if he's not even having any storms down there tonight, because we've got a chance of storms down there, I know, tonight here in Oklahoma, so he may be battling storms. I'm not sure. So how's everybody in chat been doing? Is everybody doing good? Let's see. Randy is chatting. Trying to see what he's saying earlier. So he's probably fighting a little bit of internet issues right now. So as y'all know, coming up, which will be next weekend, I'm going to be doing Miss Dion. I am living my best life also. I am really enjoying working on the outdoor channel. That channel to me is relaxation. I really, really love doing that. We lost Randy again. So hopefully we can get Randy sorted out here in a little bit. Next weekend, guys. Hey, Jana, good to see you. Let me throw Jana up there. Next weekend, I will be doing a overnight boots on the ground. So what we'll be doing is I'm going to be going to one of our hot spots, and it will start out as a normal boots on the ground is what we will end up doing. after that boots on the ground concludes, I'm going to go to sleep. I'll go to bed in the vehicle. I'll be camping out of the vehicle, to make that clear this time. Next time, we may go further in, and I may do a tent camp in the woods. I don't know. Possibly. I expect it to be a pretty crazy night. What I am going to do, for all of you who do not know, is we'll do the boots on the ground at 11 around 8 o'clock, and we will do it like we do a normal boots on the ground. I'll go out, and there's Randy. See if it works now.
Radio check.
Sound good. 5x5. What's up, bro?
I keep getting kicked out for some reason. I don't know what's going on. So we'll see how long it keeps me in tonight. We had storms earlier, but we don't have any storms around now, so I don't know what's going on. It's
wow.
my cell phone. It's like something keeps kicking me out of StreamYard, and I don't know what.
Well, that's not good. Randy, have you been bad this week?
No, I think I got something going on with my cell phone service.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I think you're having issues now. Yep, he just got kicked out again. So what I'm going to be doing, guys, is I'm going to be going boots on the ground, and I will go ahead, do the boots on the ground that night, and then after that ends, I will go, like I said, go to sleep in the vehicle at that location, okay? So, man, Miss Dion, I hate that. Seems like a lot of people's getting booted tonight. If Randy don't make it, I may have Kaylee sit in here beside me as a co-host tonight. We'll figure something out. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be camping that night. So we'll do the boots on the ground no matter what happens. And then I will go to sleep. And then what I'm going to do for all of you members and Patreon members, what I will end up doing is I'm going to film, okay, between the times that I'm live. So whenever I go to sleep, I'm going to keep the GoPro in there with me, because just because we're not live doesn't mean things ain't going to happen, especially in that location. So what I will do is I will keep things going, and then at 3 a.m., which will be the 27th, that night at 3 a.m., which will roll into the 27th from that Friday night, I will do another live, which will be an update live to let everybody know how everything's going. So the first one, Boots on the Ground, is open to everybody. The 3 a.m. is open to everybody. But the in-between, whatever I capture on the IR, the GoPro, and in-between will be released to members and Patreon members. So everybody, I think it's going to be scary. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It is going to be exciting. There's no telling what's going to happen tonight, guys. I have no idea. So what will happen? I have no idea. No idea. I think that's pretty much all I have on that part. Another thing we got tonight, guys, is let me take a look here. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a live. Hopefully, Randy will be able to get his computer working, his internet working, and he'll be able to join us. But we're doing another live tomorrow night. We're going to talk about our scariest encounters, some of the things that we've experienced that were some of the worst and some of the best. You know what I mean? So, and we're going to kind of go into what have we experienced personally? What can we prove personally? So we may end up going into that, and hopefully Randy will be able to go into that also. Another thing, I'm working on a Patreon that I'm going to be dropping to everybody. And part of that Patreon is going to be, what if Dogman is not what everybody believes that Dogman is? I've been researching and I've been looking into things, because I know that Dogman is all over the internet right now. And Dogman seems to be a very popular subject with everybody. But as a person that investigates these things and having a past of investigations, I started looking at it, and if you look at it, the Dogman term actually came around in the 1980s. So I've done a lot of research on that. I've been talking to some shamans, some Native Americans in my area, and I'm gonna put out a show on that, guys. And I'm not saying that I believe one way or the other, but I think that it's fruit for the mind is to give everybody something to think about. Good to see you, Harold from OCST, joining us tonight. Glad you was able to make it, man. But that's just one of the things that I really want to explore, I guess is what I want to say. Okay, there we go. But I think it'll be neat. Ah, Dion, that's interesting too. I think you'll enjoy the theory that I'm going to put out with the investigation I've put into it. I think it'll be very, very, very interesting. Um, and then, of course, Kaylee had her encounter. I'm not going to say where I'm going to be. CRJ, good to see you. Glad you was able to make it in here. With Kaylee, I don't know that she will go out and do any nighttime or camping, but we'll have to see what happens with that. Kaylee, do you want to come on tonight since he's not able to come on? Kaylee, do you want to come on tonight? No? Harold, would you like to come on tonight? Kaylee's not able to make it on either. But we've got an encounter we're going to discuss anyways tonight. Harold, if you're interested, just let me know and I will try to get you a link. So tonight, guys, we're going to be talking about a guy that bought some property. And the property that he bought is on an old farm. We are okay, CRJ, no problem at all. It's on a farm. So I think it's going to be an interesting one, guys. We're going to jump into that. We're going to try to get I'd talk but not go on camera. Dion, if you want to come on, you're absolutely welcomed. That is fine with me if you would like to come on. But we got just a small encounter tonight, guys, and we may get Dion on here, and I know she's got some experiences. And if she comes on, okay, let me get her a link, guys. 1 second. Let's shoot her a link. All right, guys, we got Shel a link sent out. So as soon as Shel comes on, we'll be talking with her also. We will see if we can get Randy on, if he can stay on, and we'll have Shel coming on. Oh, wow, you've got a lot of lag.
Still laggy?
Yeah, a lot of delay. Uh-oh. Shel should be hopping on here anytime, though, guys, and we're going to get her on here. We'll 20 question her because I know that she's had a lot of encounters. It should be pretty interesting to listen to her. But yeah, guys, this guy pretty much bought him some property, and I think he got a little more than what he was bargaining for. It seems like sometimes when we get a good price on a house that there is a reason that we get it cheap, and it's not always a good reason. Dana Ortega is in the house. Good to see you, Dana. Glad you was able to make it in here. But sometimes I think whenever it might be too good of a deal, it might actually be too good of a deal. Uh, it makes you wonder sometimes, like, why am I getting this so cheap, right? So I want to see. Uh, I don't see Shell jumping in. I can go ahead and we can start on the encounter, maybe. Ah, there's Randy trying to get back in. I'm sorry, guys. We're having a lot of difficulties tonight. There's Shell's in here tonight, guys. So let me go ahead and bring her on. Don't look like Randy made it all the way in. Hello, Shell. Welcome to the show. Can you hear me?
Go so I can see chat.
I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. I can talk about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, you know, Dogman, wolf creatures, anything you really want to go to. I've been at this since I was a teenager. Been experiencing since I was a 4-year-old. So I'm 56. So that's a lot of years of experiencing this stuff.
Oh, yeah. So you had some pretty close encounters with Sasquatch?
Yeah, actually, I actually had one chase me one time, and my brother ended up intervening and saving me. It was quite a run, and I don't know what he would have done if he would have caught me, but yeah, that was a terrifying night for me. And all it did was make me face my fear and dive into this to see what they were, why they were interested in me, and then I dropped it for a period of time when I was going to college and get married, start having kids, that whole role in life.
Right.
And they just no matter where I moved. Unfortunately, I love the outdoors, and so I always found myself close to the river and woods, and we were just hounded to death. My whole life was just trying to evade them, and then when I got in my 30s, I was like, okay, this stuff's not going to leave me alone. I'm going after it. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Oh, wow. That's kind of like what happened to my mom when she was younger. She had that first encounter with, the best explanation that she has given me. And, I've asked her, a million times. She's probably got tired of me asking her, but I would always ask her, I'd say, now, what did it look like? How, what would you compare it to? And she said the closest thing that she could compare to what she's seen would be like the movie Silver Bullet, the werewolf in it, kind of. And, you know, I think about that and then I wonder why. I mean, if they fixate on certain people, and it seems like once they do that, they
You're
never stop.
stuck. You're
Yeah,
stuck.
yeah,
Yeah, that's been my experience. Dogman came on my plate. We started having encounters with them in the 80s. Um, However, I was never able to differentiate back then whether it was wolf creatures or dogmen. They were stalking. They had stalking behavior and just staying in the shadows and howls and creepy stuff at night. Um, so it wasn't until 2013 I actually got good eye visuals of them and could actually start documenting them, taking pictures of them, and found that there is just an array of breeds of them. And then after study um, for about 10 years, I started differentiating that there is something that's different. That's the wolf creature. It's like a Sasquatch body, they have a foot that has three toes, and they have a foot that when they're on 2 feet, it looks like a Sasquatch print with three pointed toes. But when they're on all fours, they're a three-toed like canine print. So when you're in the field, it's like, okay, what have I got here? I got Dogman, I got, and so I have literally watched them like sit down and throw the foot up, and I got a picture of the bottom of their foot, and so I was like, okay, so I could link it to that breed, and then with Dogman, we were actually in the field and found these 11 and a half by 12-inch Dogman prints, and started casting them, and the very creature that was made them, because they were fresh, we didn't realize he was only about 50 yards away hiding in some tall grass, and he stood up, and I've got great footage of him also, so I was able to link those definite canine prints to a definite being that looks entirely different than the wolf creature. The wolf creature it looks like a wolf. They're all black. They have hair on their face. Every now and then you'll catch a female that looks like a red wolf. Very beautiful.
Wow.
But then again, you've got a distinct type of foot, a distinct type of leg. When you get the Dogman, you've got that giant canine leg that's kind of frog-like. It's bent and it's very muscular, but it's skinny at the same time.
Right.
And so they have a whole different posture, if you will. Like they're kind of leaning forward a little bit when they stand. They can arc and stand straight up, but they can't maintain that when they walk. When they walk, it's bent a little bit.
I wonder if that's where people get the hunched over walking from.
Yeah, I think that there's many markers that need to be determined between the two species because wolf creatures have been completely benevolent for me. I've not had any problem with them. They're always around my house. They hang out with Sasquatch. You'll see little Sasquatch with them, and then you'll see their little ones with the Sasquatch. So they're benevolent. I have not had one instance of a bad encounter with them. Dogman, on the other hand, has been a nuisance. Always got to be on my toes. Um, if you ruffle their feathers in any way, like casting their prints and stuff like that, they start terrorizing your house. I've got bite marks on my gutter. Um, I've had dead animals winged at my windows, all in retaliation for casting their prints.
Wow. It's funny that you say that because Randy, he's dealing with pretty much the same thing as he has them on his property. And as long as he leaves them alone, they tend to, I think, kind of behave themselves. But even him
Exactly.
just like talking about them, he said, that can really rile them up.
It does. That's true. Um, However, I've been able to walk among them and around them and not lose my life. I've had them like charge up against me. I had a dog and heat outside one time and realized that they were around, and um I had somebody else with me. I was like, grab her, throw her inside. I was like, they're coming right at me. And they literally rushed right up in my face and were like looking around me like, and I just froze. I just stood there and took it and faced them on, and they just turned and walked off. But they were keen on that scent that I had a dog and heat. So that tells me that their breeding is based more on like a dog species, where the wolf creature breeding has been more on like a humanist side of it, where they don't act like that. They don't present canine like that,
Wow.
and they have a much smaller. When they have babies, they'll have two or three, but when you talk Dogman, you have these giant litters of them. They'll be like all over the place, and that's really dangerous. That's where I get a little nervous when I see that they got a bunch of young. I'm tiptoeing. I've got pictures of them literally snarling at me because they were feeding their young, and I had my Great Dane outside, and they were like thinking, "Oh, is there going to come eat my food?" And so I have
Wow.
to scurry my animals into the house again.
So, how did your first encounter happen? Like, kind of what happened? How did you first run into him?
Well, there was nighttime stuff, and you wouldn't actually see them, but you would hear them and things like that. So I was having a hard time identifying them. But my first actual sighting of them was a fight they were having with a Sasquatch that used to hang around and play with my daughter. My daughter was outside. I was right at the kitchen, right at the back door, and it's very rural. We live in a very rural area. And she had a basketball hoop she was shooting baskets for. She was about 10. And I heard this horrendous just howl and growl and just snarling noises. And I dove out that back door as my daughter was running for me, and I seen them in the corn. The corn was just getting smashed all over, and the Sasquatch and the Dogman were fighting, and you couldn't see a lot of it. And then they'd stand up, and you'd see their heads and their arms, and that's all you'd see. It's just this blur of fast movements. And the next thing you know, this dog man was just like rocking as it walked away. And I was looking at the back of it. And it's an image in my mind that I'll never forget. And that Sasquatch was killed. I have pictures of dead Sasquatch. I have pictures of dead dog man. It can go either way. Typically, it takes more than one Sasquatch to take down dogman.
Back whenever I first started my channel, which was back in 2021, there was a deputy sheriff sent me a photograph of a dead Sasquatch, and I aired it. And what you're telling me was pretty much what he had told me. Is he called them werewolves, but he said they had killed it, and I guess it was well known in the department because whenever I researched it, I found that they had actually done an actual a report on the actual sheriff, and the undersheriff had actually fired at what they called a Sasquatch in the county. And it was very rare, that they will ever put that in a report, but it actually was reported. I thought that was really crazy.
Wow. Somebody had mentioned them getting on the roofs. There was one evening, they really like the winter. I have more dogman activity in the winter, more wolf creature activity in the summer, more Sasquatch activity in the summer. But in winter, it's like all out dogmen. One night, I was in the living room, and which would be the far north end of my house. I live in a ranch style, like L shaped house. And I heard something like jump on the roof. And I just heard some scurrying, and it sounded like nails and claws up there. So I grabbed my phone and ran up the back door just as I heard a thump go off the back side of the house. My back door is on the south end side of the house. So then I have to travel to the east side to go in the back. And so I hear this thump and like a ugh sound, like something just like it lost its air as it jumped. And then it was a fresh fallen snow. It had just snowed that afternoon. And so what I found was I went around to the north side. There was dogman prints out there and rabbit. It was chasing a rabbit and took it up to the roof. And I don't know if the rabbit slipped away from it or what the dealio was, but there's a rabbit that prints that come off the back side of the house and land in the snow. And the stride on the dog man to get the rabbit prints ended back behind the garage, but the stride that it went from it jumping off the roof, landing on 2 feet, and then taking off, the stride was literally 12 feet between each print. They can
Wow.
move like nothing you've ever imagined. I had another time when I was out with my dogs, and I would literally go out, and I had my roommate that was living with me at the time would go out, and I would say, "You watch the dogs. I'm watching our backs." And I would use my phone and put it on um, video mode just so that I could see around. Well, at some point in time, I'd switched it to camera mode. I don't remember what made me do that. I must have seen eye shine or something that made me do that. And as I'm sitting there looking at my phone, all of a sudden, it's right down in front of me, and my phone goes black. And at first, I thought there was something wrong with my phone. And then I open my eyes and look up away from my phone because the light from your phone can, inhibit your vision. And so I'm like looking around because right now I had this heavy presence, like it felt close. And through my phone, I can see its orange glowing eyes. And then it just moves up towards me and it's breathing on my chest, like it's just smelling me. And I told my roommate, I said, get the dogs inside, move slow but efficiently, go now. And and he instantly said, I don't want to leave you here. And I was like, go. Because I'm literally standing between him and my dogs and saving their lives, in my opinion, because I'm keeping this thing's attention on me. And I just had my hand already at my phone, and I went ahead and took a quick thumb picture. I'll send it to you later, but it's the Dogman eyes, orange, right in my face, and up close and personal. And then it just walked. I was, I was astonished that it walked away. I thought I was a goner, but it just really, I don't know what it was meaning by doing all that. But when it turned and took off, I took a quick picture, and you could see this energy arc go through the air. You could see it in the picture, and it literally leaps like 40 feet. And then it does it again. I have pictures of both arcs where it took off, but you couldn't see it. It was so fast. And it just leaped right back into the wooded area.
Have you have you ever had one try to enter your home to where you thought it was maybe going to try to come in?
Oh, many times. Yeah, I've had some really scary stuff. We have steel doors on our house just because of that. Um, there have been times like the Sasquatch never full like that. They come up and I've had doors like screen doors tore off, broken off, dented up. Just yeah, just for casting their prints. And they jiggle the handles and they like throw their body weight into it, and it's all like scare tactics. Because I know without a doubt, if they wanted in here, they would get in here. So it's all like scare tactics.
Right. So,
They
my,
feed on.
right.
Yeah, they feed on fear.
Have you ever heard them talk? Have you ever heard them say a word or anything like that?
You know what? I have never been able to decipher like anything that they're pronunciating. I've heard their high pitched and their babble. I've got audios of them howling, things like that. But when they like talk to each other, you can't put it into words. It's the creepiest sounds, and it's not like a language. It's like a yipping kind of thing that they like understand with each other. Really creepy stuff.
I don't know if you got to see it the other night, but whenever Kaylee and I had went out and she done a whistle off of that bridge, it's really hard to hear what happened after it yelled, but there's a moment after it yells that it almost sounds like a male and a female one communicating back and forth, and it's kind of like an up and down. It's like a high pitch to a low pitch to a.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. I don't even really
Did
know
it
how
sound
how,
like
how to explain it.
did it sound like they were talking through a tin can almost?
Yeah, yeah, it was real. Yeah, like kind of like an echoey kind of a up and down, high low pitch and like chatter, just like jibber jab. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
blah 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 blah.
yeah. It's not like nothing you can decipher. There's no like language there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's pretty crazy. we experienced, I had a couple of my students out one night, and there's this one area around here that is, it's really a rough area. And I won't even let them get out of the car being at their level because I didn't think that was safe. So what I did is I had like a SUV at the time, four-wheel drive. I put down the windows and I rolled up on this bridge because the bridge gives you a good vantage point with these things, you know. And
Yes.
so I
Yes.
rolled up on this bridge, and before I ever approach, I turned the lights out. I don't like when you guys go out. You're using flashlights and things like that. I don't do that because one of my students got carried off, made one mad because she took a flash picture, and it carried her by the ankle and lifted her up in the air and carried her about 75 feet and dropped her in a bonfire. And she was burned extremely bad. And she walks with a cane to this day from it. She has PTSD severe from it. Um, yeah, so I'm very careful with light in Dogman. Extremely careful, cautious. So I would
They
just
don't
leave like the park. Go ahead.
they don't like bright light in their eyeballs. They don't like it at
No,
all.
they're unforgiving with that, obviously. Well, so I had the parking lights on and I pull up on this bridge and I just put the car in the park, and we're just sitting there. I turn off the engine and we're just sitting there, and there's a little bit of ambient light from the parking lights, and you could see off the side of the bridge. Now this thing had to be extremely tall for us to see its hand and arm go up above the railing of the bridge, and it took its finger, and you can see it's a dog man because they had like these big long claws and stuff, where Sasquatch don't have claws. They have hands like we do. But it takes its finger up in the air and it just rotates a circle like it's motioning like some kind of hand circle. And that put me on high alert. Me and one other person seen it. The other two people in the car didn't see it. And so I was just like, I'm on high alert. There's something's going on. So in my rearview mirror, shortly after that, I see a shadow go quickly past the car. Like something moved from the passenger side of the car to the driver's side. And before I could even say it, the vehicle just started rocking. The whole bridge was moving, and you couldn't see it to the naked eye. We knew something was there. You could smell it. There was a heavy dog odor, wet dog smell. And this bridge is moving, and everybody's starting to freak out in the car. And I'm like, silence. And I just
Okay.
sit there and I'm waiting for anything to happen at any given minute because I'm like, I'm ready to start the car and take off, but I haven't seen it to react to it. I'm not seeing it, but I know something's on the bridge with us. And so something moves in front of the vehicle and you actually see the glow of the lights like shadow out. But physically to your eyes you could see nothing there. And then all of a sudden on the passenger side of the car in the back window, just the loudest bark noise, and just big. I mean, it would put any mastiff to shame. And it just right at the window. And the guy in the back just about come out of the skin. I don't blame him. But yeah,
Yeah.
I started the car and I moved on because they were obviously going to be aggressive, and that was a warning to get out.
Wow. Yeah. So, what do you think is their attraction to bridges? Because I've had my closest and probably more, I would say, where they were more protective of an area at bridges. It seems like bridges are.
Yeah, bridge. I got hurt by one under a bridge. It grabbed I jumped down. It was my typical Sasquatch area, okay? I was not, I knew that they could be in the area, but I wasn't on high alert. It was early morning. I was out doing my rounds looking for evidence, footprints, and stuff that were made in the night. I always go before sunset the night before, clear the area, make sure what's there, and then the next morning I go and look. So we arrived there, and right off the side of the bridge, there was a bunch of concrete that somebody had dumped, like some building material, and there was rebar and stuff like that. Dangerous. It was dangerous. I learned to be much more cautious from this incident. There were three dead rabbits laying on one of those pieces of concrete. And like three laid by each other just before you go under the bridge. So I'm like, I gotta go down there and look at this. I'm gonna go down there and look for prints. And so I go down there, and I must have been too quiet, and I must have snuck up on it, but I didn't get to see it because my head, I was just starting to go down and just gonna duck down to look at these things, and it grabbed, I seen its arm, I seen its hand, it grabbed me by the ankle, flipped me up in the air. I did a complete backwards somersault, come down, and the rebar came right between my armpit and my side. I mean,
Mm.
it literally almost killed me. And I started sliding towards the water, and my research partner like scurried and grabbed the back of my hood and was keeping me from going in the ice water because it was the time of year. It was really cold and icy. And yeah, I had bruises for a month, the size of my whole butt cheek from that. But it got away, and it had gone off the other side, and it roared as it went. And so I think he thought that I was going to take his food. I don't know, but that made me start moving way more cautious, way more cautious. So
You
the
know,
bridge thing, what you said about the bridge thing, yeah, they really do like under the bridges, but so does the Sasquatch.
I have a theory behind that. A friend of
Okay.
mine, he's been studying Bigfoot, and he thinks the Bigfoot travel along riverbanks and streams. Well,
Well, they
that might be
do.
why you're that might be why you're seeing them on bridges, because that's right in that area. Of course, they're going to
Well,
be going
yeah.
by, and maybe they're also using it to perhaps hide from people seeing them. I mean, underneath the bridge, you don't see it unless you hop down there. As they're
Well, that's
traveling,
my
maybe
assumptions.
that's just
Yeah, that's been
my
my
theory.
assumption. Yeah, that's been my
And
assumptions. I've run into a lot of Sasquatch encounters under bridges, a lot of evidence collected under bridges,
so
some just
how
phenomenal
you
things. They'll make dams in the water, like little fish dams where like they make like a half a moon with rocks, and
like a
they
yeah,
yeah, and so they'll use that to catch your fish, and then you'll see when they clean a fish, they literally peel it like a banana, and they'll clean it to the bone, but you'll have the skin still attached with the tail there, but the rest of the fish completely peeled away and cleaned away, and then they'll stack like four or five of them, and they stack them like literally like a human would sit
wow.
there and eat off their dinner plate and stack them.
That that is very interesting that you say that because me and Kaylee we went down to that bridge on one of our shows. It was during the daytime, and she found a piece of bark that was removed from a tree, and on that bark was a fish laying on it, like something had used that bark for a plate, and the fish was just like picked clean. And Shell, some
Yep.
people are asking, I don't know if you want to say or not, totally up to you, but people want to know where you're investigating at or where you're at, but that's totally up to you.
Most of the area I'm talking about is central Illinois, um, very close to Indiana. I'm 15 miles from Indiana. It's to my east, so um, all in that area is where I usually do most of my Dogman stuff. However, I get pulled into Tennessee and Missouri and Oklahoma. Yeah, I've been all over the
Oh,
place.
wow.
Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan. But generally, the most of the time, I am hanging out in Illinois and Indiana.
So now you got to tell me what happened in Oklahoma. What's the story?
Oh gosh, that would be a long one. That was all. That was all Bigfoot stuff. That was all Bigfoot stuff. Um, I was speaking at Honobbe, Oklahoma, and I was a guest speaker there. This I didn't like the Oklahoma Bigfoot. I didn't. I thought they were much more mild where I'm from because they're a little pushy down there. Uh,
That's
I had. I'll try to shorten this and not give like the whole story to it because it could get lengthy. But I was staying. I was not staying with the other guests. They were all staying in these like A-frames. I was staying on the property that was straight across the river from the Honabi siege. The siege of Honabi. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever heard of that.
uh-huh.
Okay, so that cabin was literally like straight across from this large creek from where I was staying, and there was a fence, a really old broken down fence that separated like the wilds of the creek bank from like the land that this whole plaza is on up there. And so I'm in the back of this church. They made this little apartment out of it. And the windows, the door is on the north side where the creek is, and the windows were like all along the east side of it, and then like a portion of the south side of it. And they had curtains up, but these curtains were very thin. They were more like shears. And so anything you did in there with the light on, like you needed to go to the bathroom and shut the door, or somebody could see you if they come up or walk past the window. And
Oh wow.
so my two research partners, they stayed in two different tents just outside that door to the left. And one of them had a CPAP machine in his, and that's why they were over there because they needed the electricity. So he had to have a CPAP machine. And the other guy was closest to that fence. Now, that morning when we were first there, uh, we had been awoken to chickens cock-a-doodle-doo, and there was no chickens. And I opened the door and I stuck my head out and I'm looking around, and one of my buddies, he's like stuck his head out and he goes, "You heard that too?" And I'm, "Yeah," and I'm going back to sleep. And I shut the door and went back to bed. Because we had just arrived the night before. But so now go 24 hours later, and I had said, "You know what? I'm gonna give you guys the key to this place, but I'm gonna lock the door. That way, if you got to go to the bathroom, you don't have to hike the 40 acres across this place to go to the bathroom, or whatever. You could just come in and use this bathroom." And they were like, "Oh, okay." Well, they were fully appreciative of that. So they had the key, and I had that door locked. Thank God I had listened to my gut. Living around Bigfoot my whole life, I know not to trust them. You go so far with being friendly with them, but you just don't trust 100%. You never should. You should never gift or do anything like that either. And
Could
and
you
I'll tell
repeat?
you about that in a minute.
Could you please
Uh,
say that again, Mike? Here's the reason
and
behind that. The
Yeah,
no gifting.
yeah, yeah,
she
I'll go into that. But okay, so I'll finish with the story. So
Sorry.
um, it gets to be like 2, 3 in the morning, and we're all piling into bed really late from socializing and doing everything you do at these meetups and stuff. And so I wasn't in bed yet, and I just had like the dim light on. This They had one of those three-way lights beside the bed. I just had that dim light on, and I have a terrible back, and so I laid across the bed and I just kind of dropped my knees down and crossed my feet and was like stretching my lower back out, and I heard something at the door, and I heard the door handle. And so I got in a better position because, I'm, in a nightgown. I'm not, so I like jumped in bed through the covers over myself because I expect one of my buddies to walk through the door going to use the bathroom. And I'm thinking, that's odd because they both used it before they went to bed. That's odd. And so I'm laying there, I'm just listening, and then I see a shadow over at one of the windows, like something or somebody with a very large head is looking straight into where that bathroom would be. And so what I learned later was that there was a bunch of women that stayed there just before I came there on some kind of like Mary Kay retreat or something like that. And so that that gives credence to why something would be attracted to be looking in the window and be staring into that bathroom. And so I turned the light off real quick and I ran to the corner of where the east and the south corner would be so I could look down at that north um, end of these windows to see what is doing that. What is there? Who's peeping? That's my thing. Who's peeping? Because that's not a nice thing to do. And I stick my head against the window and I just go up to look out down there and I didn't see anything and I turned to go to like back up and right then he pops his head up right in front of me. And it's like a juvenile Sasquatch because being off the ground, it's probably like 6.5 foot tall. And he screams, I scream, our mouths are both wide open, and we're looking at each other face to face, just this glass is between us. And it scared the crap out of me. It scared the crap out of him. Well, then he took off running back towards where the guys were in the tents. And I thought, well, I'll have a story to tell them in the morning. Well, so I went there. I went to bed. I laid there, didn't hear anything. The next morning, my one buddy is really aggravated when I get up and meet them at breakfast. And the other one is kind of chuckling. He's like, don't be throwing her under the bus yet. You don't know. And I'm like, good morning. What's going on, guys? I got to tell you what happened last night. And the one guy, he's like, yeah, why don't you tell us what happened last night? And he was really kind of sarcastic. And the other one says, well, Shel, sit down and tell us. And so I start telling the story. And so it adds up to everything that they experienced, but they thought that I was playing tricks on them. So when the Sasquatch came through and he had started doing his jiggling the door handle and messing around the window there, what he had done is he had tripped on the electrical cord and unplugged the one guy's CPAP machine. He was already in bed, so he has to get up, put his pants on, shoes on, go out there, plug it back in. So what he does is he does this. He goes and plugs it back in, and he says he notes the sound of sticks breaking. Well, it was all wooded where we're at, so there's sticks all over the ground. And so he just went ahead and climbed back in his tent. Then he says he no sooner gets back in his tent, takes his clothes off, gets comfortable, gets his mask back on, and it gets unplugged again. This time, the electrical cord is thrown past the other guy's tent and right over the fence. Well, when I scared that Sasquatch and it ran, he ran right through the area it had already come through, unplugged it again, and it must have caught on his toes or something, and it went right over the fence with him. So then, yeah, the guy's getting up, putting his pants on again, going out there, plugging it all back in. And they thought that I was out there playing tricks on them. Well, I said, that would add up for you if you wanted to blame me. I said, there's one factor here. You both know how terrified I am of snakes. Do you dare think I would be out there in the night with copperheads everywhere and water moccasins everywhere, tiptoeing around in the grass? No, that's not me. And yeah, they both just started laughing. They thought it was real funny. And then they heard my account of what I experienced and it all plugged in together. But yeah, that was just one experience in Oklahoma. The next night it came back. And this time it was forcefully trying to get in that door. And it was tapping at the windows and things like that. But it was in the very wee hours. They were asleep. It never disturbed them. They never heard a thing. But I was extremely uncomfortable. I didn't even sleep. I felt like I didn't feel safe. Like it really wanted it. It was really trying at that door.
That, when just some of the things that you're saying is just blowing my mind because you talk about, hearing the chickens and there was no chickens. And I just remember being down at my granny's house. There would be things like that would happen. Or when we would even go fishing, if we take mom with us, everything is always amped up. For some reason, it has a fixation on my mom and has since she was a young girl. It, we know we was down there fishing one night, and we're in the middle of nowhere down on the lake, and of course we had the kids with us, and we would always put the kids right in front of us by the campfire, and it would throw like little sticks at the kids from out in the darkness into the like the lanterns where the light was at. Where we had the kids that would throw like little bitty dirt clods and stuff, and then it
Oh
would
my
start
gosh, that was
making.
my childhood. You just described my childhood.
Oh wow, yeah, because it was crazy, and then they would make like kitten noises, like little kittens or a little puppy, or they would make little noises, and then they even one night, mom even started laughing because over in the swamp where we know there's nothing, they start making cow noises. We're like, we know there's no
Oh,
cows out there.
yes. Yes, they did that all the time when we were kids. My mom would get us, she had a king size waterbed. This is back in the 70s. And my mom would bring me and my brother into the room because there was no air conditioning in our house back in those days. And the windows would be all open, and there would be cow noises coming from our backyard. And my mom would go in the dark and collect us and put us all in bed with her. Like my mom was literally tortured to death because of their infatuation with us kids. Um, and I credit my mom for us still being here. Um, what I didn't mention is a lot of people will say, "What what do you think draws them to you?" Well, I don't really know, but I do know this. My dad's cousin, it would be my second cousin, was a female infant and was kidnapped in Arkansas by a Bigfoot, never to be seen again.
Oh my God, I'm
Wow.
sorry to hear that.
And
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, it's
Maybe
horrible.
maybe it
Go
has
ahead.
something to do with bloodline. Maybe these things are attracted to certain bloodlines of people.
I've
Like,
thought of that. What if they
You,
bred with her? What if some of them, because she would be much older than me, she would be my great aunt if she was alive or here. Well, she'd probably be dead by now because, grandma was a younger of them and she died at 81 back in 2005. So this was back in the 30s that this happened, the late 30s. But I
could
often
some
wondered, was there some bloodline that carried on or something?
are some
there,
women used breeding stock when these creatures, whether it be a Bigfoot or a werewolf, take them? Are they just eaten?
I
I don't
had a
know.
lady. I had a lady call me. I have never released this story. I have not even told Randy about this or anybody. Um, okay, so what she ended up telling me, I can't go into it because YouTube would close me down completely. But just to kind of give you an idea, I spoke to the survivor of the woman that this happened to, and this is allegedly. So I spoke to her. She had many times that she broke down. She cried. She sounded very believable to me. She was having a really hard time with it. It took us a series of phone calls for her to even tell me the whole story. She had the same belief that I do, and I know a lot of people have a lot of different beliefs and opinions, and none of us know for sure. We're all still speculating, but my opinion, was the fallen, the Watchers, the Nephilim, and then they're, of course, what did they want when they fell? They wanted to have sex with the women. They were attracted to the women, and she told me that her mother had been attacked by one, and this is back in like the 40s, and it had bred with her, and her mother actually had the child, which was she was told was her brother, but she said her brother was really deformed. um,
Yep.
he lived for a while. I think she said he lived to be like one or two and then ended up passing away. Well, they kept him hidden in the house. They didn't want to show him, she said, to nobody because he did not look human. She said he looked like the mix between a pig and a human because of his distortions of his head. She said his head was way larger than his body. His eyes are bigger. He had, a protruding snout, and she would cry, and we would have to stop and then redo the conversation at a later date. But, she said whenever I guess would be what she called her brother, whenever it did pass away, they took it and was going to have a service for it, like you would, any family member. She said her dad and her mom and everybody had dressed it and put it in, a casket, and had put it out, and they had viewed it and everything. And then the next morning they were going to bury it. That night they came up, whatever they were, and they had a greenhouse, one of the glass ones, and it broke into the greenhouse and took the body. And
Yeah, I've heard numerous stories. Well, before I go further with that, what you just said about it looking kind of pig, um, you know, you had a guest on the other night, Mr. Carpenter, and I was really good friends with his dad. We did a lot of coexisting with the Genome Project and stuff. But
Oh
mad
wow.
respect for the guy. But our beliefs did go a little different on what we thought they were. But
right,
the chimera part, the 37% chimera or unknown to this earth, it was a chimera. There was 63% human, 37% chimera. So chimera is a bunch of stuff like all mixed together. So what if there was pig in that? What if there's bird, there's this, there's that, all making that chimera? What if it our human gene, because it I speak from a medical standpoint. I have a lot of medical. I went to college to be a doctor. The body of a human aligns that with a pig, our organ layout and everything. So if the DNA from the human connected to that chimera that matched something similar to it, that's why it came out looking like a pig. Maybe that's
right. And
interesting.
yeah, and me and Travis, we had kind of a similar conversation, and kind of the way ours went was kind of, what if it was because the fallen had intermingled with all the different things, and they had corrupted the seed, and there's a little bit of something in everything, and and that's why this thing had took on, that look. I know that I saw something, and I have no idea what it was. I don't even really know how to explain it. It looked through the window at me, my cousin, and my friend that was painting. My granny had passed away at that point, and we were painting the bedroom one night because I was living in the house at the time. I was going to live there, and we looked at the window. And when we looked at the window, there was, I don't even know how to, there was this thing that had a long nose that came out and hung down, and it kind of swung. It had really big eyes that set up
Oh,
on top of the nose, and it had a little bitty forehead, red hair, and it had upper teeth, but the bottom jaw was like recessed back.
yes,
And
I
oh my
used to have
god,
a picture of one of those. I don't know if you remember Mr. Sawin. Um, he had experience with Darrows and Narrows, and I had literally had a picture of one of those with the extended nose, remind you of an elephant, a baby elephant,
that just freaked me
and
out so
and
bad.
I've lost it over the years. I'll have to get into one of my hard drives and see if I still have that, Mike. And if I still do, I'll send it to you. But yeah, it was only one encounter that I had seen one and captured it and had that evidence. But yeah, when I talked with Mr. Sawin, he has described the same exact thing in this experience he had with an encounter with the Darrow and Narrows. So yeah, that's very bothersome. They're not nice
Oh,
things. That's not a nice thing to have an encounter with. I think
that
it's on the lines of being demonic myself.
I agree. That scared the hell out of me. I mean, I tell people, people say, "Oh, you're so brave to go out there." I'm like, I don't know that I would call that all brave, because I mean, I do get out there sometimes, and I am afraid, and I'll admit that I'm afraid. And I've had times to where I, I don't even want to get out of the car when I get there. Sometimes I can show up, and I've hunted and fished this area all my life. And you can go to the same place one night, and you're like, Okay, it's fine. I can get out, fish, do whatever I want to do. And
Hmm.
man, you can go to that same place the next night. I don't even want to get out of the car. I don't want to be there. I'm like, I don't know.
You
And
know what?
nine
You
times out of
you
10, something happens.
Yes,
Hey,
you've
Mike.
got to follow your gut instincts on these things because it's all energy, and you are actually feeling that energy, that field of energy, whether it's elevated and negative or whether it's calm and positive. You got to follow your gut. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to talk over you. I apologize. Could those things with a deformed nose be a deformed part human and part something else? Could that be like one of those deformed offsprings from these creatures that's half human and half whatever these things are? Could that be where the long nose comes from?
Mm,
Can we
I
recess?
definitely think I think it's more on the paranormal side of things because
Oh,
what I experienced this thing was like going in and out of visibility and yeah, I think demonic. I really do.
It's interesting. What Shell's saying too is whenever I started studying more into this, looking into, they say approximately 25% of people that have a cryptid encounter will have a supernatural encounter. So I took that and I was like, okay, so, you're looking at some of the cases and then talking to my mom and her brothers and sisters and everything. I found that to be true because they had the cryptids, but they also had things that could not have been flesh and blood. For instance, they had this, what looked like a person in a white t-shirt that was bald headed that would pretty much look like it would float across the pasture. My uncle had come back from Vietnam. He shot at it several times with 30-06, knowing that he would have hit it. It never
Hmm.
reacted. They would be in bed at night, Mom said, and there was 8 of them plus my granny, and they would be asleep, and Grandpa was gone away logging most of the time. And they said it would sound like something was in the kitchen and like it would pour beans all over the floor. It would sound like you just ripped apart a bag of beans and it would just go everywhere. And then you go in there,
And
there's
nothing.
nothing's there.
That happened to me growing up like at least once or twice a month. My mom would be terrified something was in the house, and you would hear the doors, the cabinet doors open and shutting, the table chairs going in and out, and you go in there and everything looked completely undisturbed.
Good grief. They they had it in their house one night. My aunt actually told me the story. The youngest kids were sleeping with my granny. The oldest kids were in the middle bedroom, and then in the very back there was a bedroom where my uncle stayed. And it was the house had burnt, so it was like a smaller build on. And she had woke up that night and she looked at the door to the front room, and she saw something standing in the doorway, and it scared her. And she was young, so instead of waking my granny up or somebody, she covers up her head and she's hoping that it's going to go away. So she lays there, and then she said, I pull the sheet down and I'm looking, and now it's standing right beside the bed. So she covers her head back up, and as this thing left, it walked around the end of the bed, which was going into where the older girls were at, back toward where my uncle would have been. It runs its hand across the bottom of her feet as it walks past her into the other bedroom. Just, I guess, to let her know that I don't know. It
I've
just,
had that
ugh.
happen. I've had that happen, and I scurry to the middle of the bed and be terrified all night long. Yeah, that kind of stuff happens. Not so much anymore, but you could go back 10 years and prior to that, that was completely my whole life. I really embedded myself into a spiritual protection around my house, doors, windows, pray all the time to keep that kind of stuff out and to keep it from happening to me. But it's really it's a whole lifestyle when you live with these things and deal with these things all the time. And that's what people don't get. Like they think it'd be so cool to be me. Oh, you're blessed. You have all this happening. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Let you walk a mile in my shoes. How about you spend one night in my house, 1 hour, and by yourself? I give you that, and I bet you never want it again. So yeah, it's not fun. It's definitely not for the weak. at heart. Somebody's asking me if I have a YouTube channel. You know what? I dabbled with it. I did like put one or two things on YouTube, and I just really don't. I don't really care for it. If you go to my TikTok, Shell Whisper Walkers, you can definitely, if you go to my Facebook, there's a link there to that. I'm on Facebook and Whisper Walkers like page on Facebook, but I don't put my work on there because of thieves. Um,
Yeah,
so the best way to see my work is to get in touch with me personally or go to my TikTok and I put examples there. But I literally have mountains and mountains of evidence that I just sit on basically because of just the whole community in general and how nasty they can be. I just don't feel it's a
absolutely.
place that you can really, I mean, literally, it takes getting one on one with me to get me, hi, Clough, to get me to share and, let you see all the evidence and stuff. That's really kind of how I work.
And
you
also,
know,
Shell, you can share all your information if you want on my Facebook page. Just put it all on. I'll after the show, I'll just set you to pre-approve, and you can just put your stuff on there.
I'll
That
just
way,
put one of my videos from a TikTok. I'll put on there. I'll post it on there, and then that'll give them the link to go and check it out.
sure, yeah, yeah. Go check her stuff out.
Thank you for that.
Oh, very welcome. So after you started, doing like more of the spiritual and the protection and everything, did it stop it, or do you find that it stops it, but do they
It holds in it.
still?
It keeps it from getting in my house.
Okay,
I
yeah,
was
that's what I
having
was wondering.
things in my house, but outside and what you're going to experience up at the windows and everything else, there's no control in that. It's there. Just the other night, me and my daughter had a run-in with something that smelled like it was just covered in blood, and it was just horrible. It smelled metallic. It smelled like iron. It's like somebody had a bucket of blood right under your nose. It was a clean, beautiful aired night and it went to that wretched smell just like you flipped a switch and the oppressive feeling. Now what I've experienced from Bigfoot, they're not frenzied eaters. They don't make a huge mess of themselves when they do that, but the dogmen, the rakes, yeah, they definitely are frenzied type eaters. And so it was obviously one of them, and we definitely got indoors right away. See, I just don't trust those things.
And again,
Um,
you're
the,
you're spot on because I had a friend that, well, my mom them knew him better than me. He was their age that had went to my granny's that had an encounter at the back of the house. He was going to, run this pervert off. He thought it was a pervert. He didn't even think that it was a monster, and he
we
didn't talk
used to
about
think
it.
that too.
That's what
That's
he
what we
thought.
thought growing up. Yeah, we thought we
Yeah,
had a stalker.
that's what he
Yes.
thought. And he said, when I went around the corner of that house, and now he didn't talk about this for 50 years. I tried to contact him, and he still wouldn't until he had got sick and left me a letter that he had sent me, and I read it on there. But he said when he came around the side of that house, my granny would dump the scraps out the back door into a hog trough because my grandpa didn't want her going out, in the dark and stuff away from the house when he was gone. So he said when he went around the back of that house, the only way he said I know how to explain it is it was a werewolf. And he said that thing was huge. And it was reaching down into the slop, not eating from the front of its mouth, but it was shoving it in the side of its mouth, just letting it run down him.
Yes.
And it kind of like tilted
Yes.
its head and looked at him. And he said it like smiled, as people say they smile. And it said,
Hmm.
hello. And he said,
Oh,
man,
gross.
he said, I ran for my life. And my granny, she had it speak to her. She would sit on her couch, and just like you said, when we were young, we didn't have air conditioners either. Our air conditioner was, the window open and a box fan in it. And she was sitting on the couch, and it was standing out on the sidewalk, looking up through the porch and into the front room, and see her on the couch. And it had its long fingers out, standing on the sidewalk, and it's doing, this come here motion, and it's saying her name over and over.
That's creepy.
Oh, it, you know. you get up and you shut the door and you lock it and you pray, that it doesn't come in. Did we lose you, Shell?
Yeah, I got kicked off. A phone call came in and kicked me off.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
about that.
No problem. I just wanted to make sure we didn't. But yeah, it stood out there and it was just, telling her, come here, or calling her name and saying, with his hand, come here.
Yes, I've had them point at me and motion to come, and of course you don't.
So
Um,
what is your theory? Why are they taking these people and missing 411 and what do you think's happening? Why are they doing that?
well, when you talk 411, there is so many things out there on the spectrum. So you can't blame anything on one or two different things. So we don't know what happened to those people.
Right.
But the working theory that I am living by is that in all of these creatures, you have the extremes. You have the one overly friendly, and then you got the one overly aggressive. So they're no different than us. You can have the murderers, you can have the kidnappers, you can have everything just like we are. And so when people are encountering the bad stuff, they're experiencing the worst of it.
Well, so do you think that throughout, if we were to categorize them all under what people like to call the cryptid category, would you say that that at some point that we're always on the list, we're always on the menu, we're always a possibility?
Absolutely.
That that's what
And the
it's.
one man says the rakes are too fast. That is the absolute biggest terror in the field for me, is those things.
Right.
The kills left behind, the level of creepiness that goes with it. They are like modern day vampires. So that is a whole nother topic. We could do a whole show on that.
I don't think I've ever ran into one. The weirdest thing I ever ran into, and I still don't know what it was. There was two white things, and that's why I call them as just white things, because they didn't really have the form of a human or anything. They just looked like two white, like almost like a 4x4 post, 3D standing there. And whenever we walked toward them, me and my cousin, they just got really tall. And whatever they had substance to them, because whenever they went back to the fence to go over the fence by the pond, they rattled the barbed wire fence. It actually done that, that sound, and they took off toward the pond. I have no idea what that was. We didn't. We talked about that forever. We had no idea.
Well, the misconception here is that they're all white. They can literally go chameleon. Um, I hit one with my truck one night that was white, and as it ran off, it literally changed colors into like a dark brown and blended into the night.
See, these things, man, it just puts a whole different thought into my mind. I'm a deer hunter too, so you know how many times I've went down there before the sun comes up, and you sit underneath the tree or in a tree, some people, and you don't turn a light on because you don't want to scare anything, and you hear all this walking around you and stuff, but you put in your mind, you're like, oh, that's a raccoon or an armadillo or, it's deer. But what really sometimes has walked under your deer stand or even past you?
That you didn't even see.
Right. I mean, these things could, I mean, you hear stories from deer hunters saying, I was standing up in my tree stand, minding my own business, and I had my feet hanging down, and a hand reached up and grabbed me by the ankle. Now, it didn't pull them out of the tree, but it was enough that they knew a hand grabbed them and it tugged. Is that like the scare factor? Is that what they're doing?
You know, every encounter, it's very important important to understand that we can't put them under an umbrella of they. It's got to be individual. So you've got to literally look at them, and we need to look at them identical. So what one may do is not going to equivalent to what another one will do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we had down here in my area, it's been a few years back, there was a boating accident, and two adults were plucked out of the trees in the middle of the lake. There was two younger kids, young men, I guess, and whenever they found them, they were not at the water's edge. They were both underneath a big tree that had fallen, and they were covered in leaves and twigs. And I spoke to one of the search and rescue guys, and he said, "There's no way they crawled underneath that log and put all that stuff on them." But that's the kind of things that never make it to the reports.
Yeah. And
But
they're smart enough to know that they want to blend in with the local wildlife. That what you're talking about is something that a bear would do. But of
right,
course, we know a bear didn't do it.
right,
Not both of them. A bear is not going to take two people or two humans. One would get away.
right,
And
and
it definitely wouldn't store both of them together in the same pile.
right.
No.
And there was even an encounter that was sent in. Sharon Guy said, "Have you ever been mind spoke to where?"
I prefer the term telepathic. And yes, with Bigfoot, wolf creatures, and unfortunately, very minimal with Dogman, and it's never been nice. And I don't respond back to it, and I just close my door to it.
So is it threats, or is it
Yes,
yeah?
yeah, not good. It's not stuff I could say here on YouTube.
We're gonna have to have a Patreon someday, because my little cousin, I believe that she was almost a missing person. She was playing in the backyard of my granny's house. My granny had had a stroke at the time, and all the girls were taking turns taking care of her. And she was playing outside. She was probably 10 or 11. And thank God that when she saw it, she ran inside instead of going to it. But it stuck its arm out of the tall grass of the field, and it called her name and tried to get her to come here. Luckily, she cried and ran inside and didn't go to it. I really do think that it was going to take her that day. I really do.
I had mentioned I had been chased and stalked by a Bigfoot when I was young, and I was in my teenage years. My son was dating a girl that was fascinated with what I did. And so she would go out in the morning with me and print hunt and stuff. And for some reason, she had gone away and they broke up for a while or something. And I was out by myself. And out of the cornfield, like maybe 6, 7 rows back, it was saying her name. And it was very creepy. And it kept repeating it. It was like Kayla. And it was like over accentuating the vowels. And I stopped and just listened. And now it kept doing that. And I finally said, she is not here. She is gone. And it stopped. But now looking back on that very day, I think she was the same age I was when that stalked me and was after me. And she was very tiny and she was very cute. And I'm thinking there is some thing about that. Maybe it was the same Bigfoot because it was still the house I grew up in. I don't know. It was relentless, though. It wanted her. Did I lose you?
There we go. Yeah, and what was really weird about what you're saying, when Sarah would go out with me, it got where it like was infatuated with Sarah. Like it would call her mama, and when I didn't take her with me, it would actually like you would hear. uh, Some people say it's an EVP. We don't know if it's an EVP or if it's just that they're talking higher and lower than what our ears can hear, and just the devices are picking it up. But we would hear it actually say Sarah and call her mama. And I thought that was so weird.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know why it would call her mama. And now Kaylee, she, went a few times, and we done a lot of the night winds until we had this last encounter, which really, really bothered her. And I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this. From what she told me, what she seen running, it was on all fours. She said it was gray. It was running to kind of cut off our vehicle where we were driving. But she said was it shaggy hair, Kaylee? It had shaggy hair, and she said she didn't see a head. She didn't even see a head on it.
Wow. Yeah, I've
So
never experienced anything like that. I've
I
heard
didn't
of
get
it.
to see it. I didn't get to see it. I was trying, but I didn't see it. But
Yeah.
the
Well, somebody
call that
said
it,
they like blondes and redheads. Uh,
wow.
not true. Kayla was definitely a brunette.
Yeah, because Kaylee's she's got, well, pretty much black hair. Now Sarah
Yeah,
has
I think it's just
blonde hair.
females in general.
That's what I think too, because you've probably heard this. The old superstition, right? From when I was growing up as a kid, the elders in town, everybody that had dealt with this stuff, that had already named the bridges around here. You got Troll Bridge, and you got, the Back Bridge, and you've got the Screamer. They always
Yep.
had one thing in common. They all said, if you want to have an encounter, have the same amount of men as you do women when you go down there. They would always, that's what everybody agreed on.
Well, in my experience with Sasquatch, the less amount of people I go out with, the more activity I have. And if it's just females, yeah, we get bombarded.
Wow. So it's not smart, you think, for, say, okay, if you, I'll put it like this: if you was going to give a female investigator advice, what would you tell them?
The best advice I could get from my own experience is don't be out there alone. I used to do it by myself for a very long time. And then I had some experiences that I would rather share with you privately
Uh-huh.
that drove me to never go in the field by myself at night. During the day, I'm okay. But at night, oh no, definitely I'll do that around my house, but like I go to different places I travel to. Like there's a swamp I love to frequent, but I definitely won't go alone.
Do you do you think that if you were to pursue that alone, do you think it would be something that would cause you not to come home, or just,
Yes,
uh, yeah,
without a doubt.
you
I had
know,
some experiences in the field, and thank God I wasn't by my live self when this happened. But I was with two other men, and they're my witnesses to what happened. and never again. I don't go alone.
You know, it puts a chill. I mean, I think about things, like what happens if, you're on your way home and you have a flat tire on a back road and, you know,
That's a constant fear where we live because my daughter is 24, and I've had something happen with her when she was 18, and her dad lives out by the river 12 miles north of here, and I'm 6 miles west of that same river. That river travels northwest of me. So he has a very active, I have a very active marriage, but they're not the same clans. Well, Cassie has a big four-wheel drive pickup. I mean, it's giant. And she left her dad's, and she got down to the stop sign that's there's nothing around, nobody around, just the woods. And she's going to turn to come south, and that road would take you all the way here. Something got in the back of her, and the truck went down. She said the front end of her truck is raised. She called me in a panic, and she goes, "Something just broke on my trunk." She said the back end is like down, and she goes, "I can't get the speed up over 50." And I was like, "Well, don't push it. Just drive 45 and get here safe." And this is very late at night. So she's just about to slow down and come into this little town that we live on the outskirts. And all of a sudden, the engine just like revved a little bit. The back end of the truck come up, and when it come up out in front of her, she seen land in the ditch a big Sasquatch, and she said its head was well over the top of this truck. Now her floorboards were my chest level. I'm 5'9", so this was big. And so by the time she gets home, pulls in the drive, parks, she gets out of the truck, and I'm meeting her outside because she's just terrified. She doesn't deal with this stuff as well I do. And she's walking towards me quite quickly and coming across the field sideways, running behind the house into the woods. There is this ungodly scream. It is. It sounds like a lion. It's so loud. It could death the sleep and wake the dead. It was loud. So it literally was in the back of her truck. She couldn't see it. It was so dark out, and she drove home with it. That terrifies me for these young girls out here on these back roads.
That would be scary.
They have literally tormented my kids. My kids hate the topic. Like they don't want any part of it. My daughter
right.
used to go out with me all the time, and now she just won't. She got chased by a Dogman, and I took a photograph as she's running towards me and got it. But she's just like, I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, Sarah and Kaylee went out one night without me, and Randy probably remembers something jumped on the top of the vehicle and rode on top of their vehicle almost all the way until they got close to where there was houses and street light, the street lights, and it jumped off.
That's just crazy. It happens.
And again, like you said, it was just women, and my mom, she, if you want to have an encounter, we always joke and say, take mom with you because if it knows she's down there, it's going to be there. Good
Yeah, that's for
gosh.
certain.
And I feel
There's
sorry
a
for all the. Oof.
Vicky Carnes in Chant in
Huh?
the chat. Is she from Arkansas?
I don't know. Vicky, are you from Arkansas? Yeah, Belinda, it was. It was 2 Halloweens ago. I wonder a lot of things. My mind wanders sometimes when I look into these things, and I'm like, these poor victims of people that go missing. It. I wonder what did they endure and what did they see before what happened to them. What did they go through? What did they see? And
Hmm.
you know, I
Yeah,
I believe I don't know. I believe with
those
what
thoughts.
Travis Carpenter. Travis Carpenter said, "Don't hunt them."
Oh, I say all the time, leave them be. You
But
don't need to be out there messing with them, and not unless you are fully embracing that they can come home with you and stalk your life.
yeah,
So
and your
keep that
families.
in mind.
You know, me and
Yeah,
Travis Carpenter, we even had this conversation just a little while back. We were talking about his dad said, whenever he would go to the woods, that he would pray, pray for that protection. But then,
I do
you
too.
want, and you wonder why did it come home? Why did it come home? And then, one of the questions that we would ask ourselves is, whenever we go search for them, is there an agreement that when we go pursue them, that they can pursue us back? Is that a temptation? Because I mean, if you go to the woods to fish, you go to the woods to hunt, you go to the woods to camp, and you pray for protection, okay. But if you go to the woods and you're calling them and you're trying to get that interaction, is there I don't know how to put it, an
Like a
agreement?
joint, it's just like a tie, like a marriage to them.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that too. One thing, this is why I say do not feed them.
Right.
Um, I accidentally left something in my car after I grocery shopped one night, and they got in it, even though it's locked. They still got in it and tore it apart. And they continued and continued getting into my Durango. It was only 2 years old, and the back seat was pushed in the the steel like a U. You couldn't even raise the second or the third row seat from
Oh,
them
wow.
leaning in and looking. And I didn't intentionally leave something there that was treating them, but they will drive you crazy. Now, here's what I say about gifting. What I have put together just in the last couple of years is that every time they left me some gift on the back door or whatever, be it feathers, be it rocks, whatever, when you pick it up and you bring it in your house, it's like you agree to barter with them because you have something in your house go missing. And it could be something of value. It may not be expensive, but it may have sentimental value to you or whatever. But every single time that I was gifted by them, there was something missing within days that I'd never find again.
Wow. We've had them
And
leave
then,
us white feathers, and this was left right here. This was left on uh, under my windshield wiper. I don't know if it's a stick. Let me see if I can get it where you can see. And it was sharpened. You can see this was left on my windshield one night when I came back to my vehicle. It's not very long. It's just a short stick, but I brought it home.
Did you tell Shel about your attempt at gifting? How did that work out for you, Mike?
Yeah, gifting is. I told everybody don't gift. I've always told people don't gift, and everybody was like, gift, 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 gift.
I'm in a
Uh,
1,000% agreement
yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Not
It's not a good idea. I know Scott Carpenter. He done some things that people thought that he was actually gifting, but he actually had a reason for his madness. He was actually collecting DNA while he was doing that. There was
And
research
that's what
involved.
started it. Me and Scott were working together on different means of collecting DNA. And I got a lot of saliva, a lot of hairs from ideas that him and I would share back and forth. And that gifting led to no good. And you should never taunt them by giving them food. They then come to expect it, and then they just start taking. And then when they don't get, they can get violent.
It almost, of course, I don't know that you are or not, but you could have been one of the people that may have supplied a sample, because I know he worked with a lot of people, and you
Yeah, I
know,
was supplying stuff. I was sending stuff to Melba.
okay, I didn't want to say anything in case you didn't want to say anything, because I was I was getting that feeling, you know. Uh, so my question is, whenever you collected, say, DNA or tangible evidence,
Hmm.
did it seem to ramp up, or is that something you can talk about here? Is that something for another conversation? Did it
At the
change how
time,
they interacted?
there was so much activity going in all of this anyway. I really couldn't put it on a scale, so I can't give you an honest answer.
I have a question for
So
you about the time that you went under the bridge, or any times that you've had close encounters with them. See, I've walked up on these these werewolf creatures. These things look like large wolves the size of my horse. And there's many times
Hmm.
I've walked up on my horse and caught werewolves sleeping in a circle pattern around. And when they would wake up, they would all raise their heads at the same time, and they would all look at me at the same time like they were linked. But the times that I've walked up on them sleeping, I had no electronics on me, no cell phones, no cameras, just nothing on me. And I've been able to
You
catch
know,
them multiple times,
for
sneaking or sleep.
decades, I would not go out with cameras, electronics, anything, because I was actually studying. Okay, I didn't care about bringing the proof. I didn't care about any of that stuff, and that makes your encounters way more intense.
Have you written any books yet?
I'm working on it, and literally, it would be like a biography of my life. So it's like best if I do it in volumes.
I'm
If you
definitely
ever
buying them.
when you reach your book, let us know, please. I'll be more than happy to
Oh,
buy one.
oh, thank you. And yeah, if I ever get it completed, I'll definitely let everybody know.
Your stories just adds more content to some of the encounters that I've had with these creatures. I've had no bad encounters with them. They've never growled at me or anything like that. But when I
Yeah,
try to catch,
there's many times
there's
they're
times I've
asking again if I have a channel. A
with
link
the.
to my TikTok with the footage and stuff will be added to my script.
Hey, Shel, what is your face? You said you have a Facebook page. What is your
Yeah.
Facebook page? I can add it to our links.
Um, it's best if you contact me, Shel Kaoki Dion. It's Shel and then Kaoke.
Kaake.
Yeah.
That's all one word.
No,
Kaok.
it's three words.
Shell Kaoke. Is there another word?
Dion.
Oh, Dion.
Yeah.
I'm doing a search here.
You're welcome, Amanda.
Yeah, you've like I said
And
tonight.
then
I mean, just she's blowing me away too, because everything she's saying is just, I mean, things that I've experienced personally. It's like it all goes together just so, I don't know. It's funny how these things are worldwide, but yet they exhibit the same, the same traits, I
Yes,
guess.
I have worked with people worldwide. I've had
Hey,
students from other countries come to me to learn the best way to deal with these things.
Huh?
Um, it's been phenomenal. I had theories that they would be absolutely everywhere until people start contacting me from everywhere. Nova Scotia, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, Germany, especially with Dogman. I get a lot of reports from there on Dogman. Um, Singapore. There's just been the whole world.
Do they seem to exhibit the same traits no matter where it comes from?
Yes,
Wow. And like, as far as getting them off of people's property, does the pretty much the same, you think? Is it the prayers, and does the trail cams work? Do you believe that the trail cams work in the infrared lighting, or do you believe it's more of a spiritual battle?
they definitely see infrared. Putting up infrared cameras, as long as you get them way up high and have them angled down and let those. Well, I worked with people to get them off their property that were having their animals taken and stuff. And yeah, you got to angle a lot of them from all different ways and have that infrared light showing in different angles, and just you really got the area that you're going to protect has to be covered.
It just goes back to, man, just me being a kid. I would walk, 2 and 3 miles from my house, just as, 13, 14, 15 years old, to the woods, and with my cousin, and no phone, no car, no nothing. And we would play in the woods until, almost dark, and we would start walking home. But when you look back and you think about it, man, you wonder what was watching me. How close was I not to coming home? Because if you was down there and these things are down there, they were watching. They were there.
Yeah, I have a really scary story that's kind of a long story that I can tell you that happened to me when I was chased as a teenager. And my dad, when we were kids, the second the sun started to set, you're in the house. Like they were so protective over us, we couldn't understand. And then, like, there would be kids gathering to play under the street light, the one street light anywhere close to my house, and they would be playing kick the can, and we'd want to go out there and play. And my dad would always say no. So he would go out and sit on the porch and say, "All right, I give you guys like 30 minutes. You go play, and I'm going to sit right here and watch." And we were like, that was candy to us because they never allowed us. And
Right.
we were playing, and whatever we were playing with, handball, didn't matter. It'd go off into the dark, and my dad'd say, "I'll go get it. You kids stay under the light." But you gotta understand, he was raised in Arkansas, down there where it was really rough, and he
Oh,
lost
yeah.
his cousin to a Bigfoot. Well, my dad would be moving towards the object, and it'd shoot out of the dark. And my dad would be, "That's it. Y'all go home right now." And that would be it. The play's over. So then, we were pulled in, and we always thought he was so bad for it.
So I mean, they actually tried to get you several times, and
Oh, Yeah, there was actually incidents at LBL, and I was a 4-year-old, and I went missing really early morning, and we had just arrived the night before, and we were camping. My parents had everybody looking. They couldn't find me. They were to the point they're getting ready to start drag the lake, and I just appeared behind my mom and dad's camper, and I had my shirt pulled up with both hands filled with berries. And I can remember just these large, hairy hands putting berries in my shirt, but that's all I remember of it. And my mom said that I was perfectly clean for a kid that had been missing for 4 hours.
Wow.
So
But I had been eating berries, and somehow I'm holding my little shirt out with both hands full of berries, going, "Look what I have, mommy." When she just like grabbed me and just frantic.
that that again, what happened to you goes right back to all of the, pretty much, it's what class 101 of abductions. I mean, they, for some reason, they feed the children. I even had a lady tell me one night, she's like, Mike, why do you think they're dangerous if they fed these children? And the only answer I could give her is, I said, well, a good farmer, he has cows and chickens and stuff, and what do? We take care of them, we feed them, we vaccinate them, we give them a place to live, we lock them up at night, and then we butcher them when we get hungry. Is it that they're
Right?
being nice to you, or are they just, okay, well, are they grooming? Are they getting you used to them?
There,
Are they gaining that trust, right?
grooming, right there. That is the key. That's what you said. The grooming.
Wow. And then eventually they get that trust and they gain that trust, and then I believe they're opportunists, and they get that opportunity, and you end up gone.
Absolutely. Somebody is wanting me to go in that detailed story.
Yeah,
Um,
if you want to,
that's
you
up to
can.
you.
It's up to you. We've had you on, I know, a long time tonight, or we can plan another live if you want, and you can come back and do it however you want to do it. I don't want to wear you down. We've had you on quite a while tonight.
Yeah, let's plan it for another night,
Okay,
and I'll go into the whole detail of it
we will
because you're going
definitely
to
do
want
that.
to tear that one apart.
Yeah, yeah, I will. I get
I
I
do.
get into those, and my mind starts going into the investigative part of me. But I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
things you said tonight, it just, man, it just resonates. It's like your family went through it. My mom went through it. I went through it, and it's so identical. It just like Randy. Randy, right whenever you started off and you said, whenever we cast them and we talk about them and we investigate them and we shine lights at them, they get angry. And Randy has said that since the very beginning. He's like, Mike, when I talk about them, when I try to film them, Randy went out one night, we was on a live, and he was just walking around. I believe it was cold. It was cold outside. It's like winter or fall time. And I had another guy on with us, and Randy turns, and there it is standing in the field. Well, after that had happened, I guess they thought Randy was out trying to show them on video, and Randy went through straight hell after that for a while. I mean, they went out and attacked his well, his drinking
That's
water.
that's ex- that's exactly what I go through. That is also frustrating, but it's differentiating the wolf creatures from the dogman. The wolf creatures will all out pose for you just like the Sasquatch. They don't care if I got them on video. They're friendly. They're right up trying to interact with my animals. They're friendly.
You just done
It's
it
those
again.
things
Just
that
what you
don't,
said.
yeah, it's crazy.
Just
And I
like
don't
Randy
talk
said,
much. I don't know if you've
Wow.
noticed, but I just don't do many shows. And I stay to myself. So I just listen to other people, and I put two and two together sometimes and go, oh, well, you don't know what you're playing with. Oh, well, you
Right.
shouldn't be doing that. And I
And you
just
know
say to
what?
myself on it.
And what you just said again, Randy, was saying just a few times. He said he had an encounter with a female one, and it posed for him. It allowed him to look at it, and just like what you just said, how it posed, and it's like there are so many similarities to what people are seeing, and like what Randy's seeing, and what they've done with Randy, and because Randy, didn't you say Randy? It just stood there, and she just let you look at her, right?
She stood there perfectly still for 2 to 3 minutes. Didn't move a
That,
muscle.
yep,
All I could
that's,
hear was the sound of huge volumes of air passing in and out of her large black nose. And I could have reached out and touched her. That's how close she was. And this is like at 3:33 in the morning. And she
yep,
just sat there, let me get a good look at her for a couple of minutes, and then she opened the dimensional door and stepped through it and disappeared 3 feet away
yep,
from me.
that's exactly how it goes.
I
I
wasn't
have a
looking for this.
video that I just put in my group, and I don't release stuff very often, but when I do it privately. I have a very small group. I believe in quality over quantity, and
Absolutely.
I know my stuff will keep private. But I videoed a dog man studying me and just watching me, and I was watching him, and I took stills off that video, and I'll share that in Mike's group if you guys want to see that.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'll be sharing stuff with you, Mike. And I know in the past, and I just want to put this out there, somebody with nefarious intentions made some accounts on YouTube using my full name, which I don't do. And if I'm out in the public, my Whisper Walker's name would be behind my name. And somebody has gone in people's lives and caused chaos and thought that it's been me. And no, I don't hide my identity. If I am in somebody's life, you're going to experience somebody that is polite, somebody that is inquisitive, wants to hear what's going on with other people. I'm not going to be disrespectful to anybody's encounter. I'm not going to be disrespectful to their experience because in all of this cryptid stuff, every journey is not identical. It may be
Right.
similar, but it's not going to be identical. And so I will never criticize anybody for what their experience is.
Man, I don't think you could have said that any plainer. Just like, when I was an investigator and at work, there is no crime that's identical, and if you're not there, I mean, we don't know what they went through, what the particulars were, all we know is just, the common knowledge of it. But with everything that happens, like what you said, they're like us, they're different. They have different, you know, I don't know. Psychology says that human behavior is predictable, but I kind of disagree with that at some points because just what I've seen as an investigator, that there is differences. Yeah, people do have patterns, but also some people exhibit patterns that are non common. And
Right.
if some of these things, and if they have the intelligence that we believe they have, I believe that they may even have the intelligence to do things different to throw people off, to make it look like a wild animal attack, an accidental drowning, or, something of that nature. I think that they're very capable of doing that.
Yeah, I do too.
Shel, you have been an awesome guest. We sure appreciate you. I had you on here a long time, and I'm sure you probably want to get some rest and have things to do. But we definitely want to have you back to do the longer story. I'm really interested in that, and I'm sure we'll end up picking it apart.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But most of all, be careful at what you're doing. You know, we
I'm
don't
kind
want to
of
see.
taking a hiatus right at the time. I'm going through some medical stuff and some surgeries, and I'm just kind of laying low.
Well, you take care of you first. We always, that's what I always tell everybody is family first. You take care of you first, and just keep in communication with me. We'll keep you in our prayers also, and whenever it's convenient for you and you feel like it and everything, then we will have you back.
Well, any time in the next couple months would be good.
Okay.
After that, I probably will need some rest.
So October, maybe, is that a good month for you?
The rest of this month and beginning of October, yes.
Awesome, because we're doing an October blast, so we will work you in October for that, for our Halloween blast deal we're doing.
Oh yeah, that'd be great time for the scary stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, Shel. With that being said, I'm going to let you run, and thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and God bless you. And until next time, be safe. That's the main thing. Be
God bless
safe.
you too, and thank you to your audience. They're really great people.
It was our pleasure, and you're right. We have a great audience. We really do. And don't be a stranger. We love hearing
Oh
from you.
no, I'll be in your group and I'll add some things.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, and good night. And you have a good night's rest too.
You too, and everyone else. God bless.
All right. God bless. All right, guys. That was one of those that could have went on and on and on and on. Man, a lot of information gained tonight. A lot of the things that she said confirmed a lot of the things that I've experienced. Man, what do y'all think? Let me know in the chat. Just give me some of your first reactions. I mean, what is your all's thoughts? I mean, some of that stuff just blew me away, and how so much of it connected to what you all have heard me talk about and what Randy has spoke about. Or I'll tell you what, don't put it in the chat right now. Let me know after the show, okay? Let me know what you thought about tonight's show. Amanda, so good to see you. I hope you're doing good. I know you're working really hard right now, and don't forget to take care of yourself also. Randy, last words, summarize. I'm blown away, man. I could have went all night on this one. Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, having technical difficulties. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you now.
Amazing, blown away. The story just confirms some of the encounters I've had. It really kind of backs up to hear other people having similar experiences, to where I know that, it's not just, I'm not nuts. It's nice to know that, it's nice to know that everybody in my business thinks I'm crazy. I kid you not. It's like, I'm
we
not
might
making.
be we might be crazy, but we haven't crossed the line to nuts.
Well, for years you wonder, because everybody else,
Uh-oh. Poor Randy. He's had so much trouble tonight, guys. We're going to go ahead and call it tonight. Let me know after the show, what questions do you have for Shel? Put them in the chat. I will write them down when she comes on next, and I will have those prepared for the next show, and we will go into that. Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Like I said, Shel, thank you so much. You're an awesome person, awesome guest. You have great information. Tomorrow night, guys, we're live again with Randy and I. We're going to share some of our personal encounters, what we've experienced, what we feel about it, where we think they come from. Join us tomorrow night, guys. We look forward to it. Love you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Good night, and God bless.